good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, wherever you are in the world. Welcome to yet another session of inspiring conversations. Before I tell you who is on the line now, I will tell you that, as always, inspiring conversation, it's all about creating conversations that really matter. We are diving into ways to connect deeply, break down barriers, and build moments that inspire trust and growth. Whether it is with your team at work or in your everyday chats, we will bring more positivity, realness, and impact into every conversation. As usual, I am in Iceland, and the city is called Kópavogur. This is our church, and I live somewhere near the ocean. And enough about that, because my guest today is amazing. Veteran, like fought in the Vietnam War. He was an alcoholic. He did something extraordinary in the age, like he was over 70, where he walked, I hope I say it right, Appalachian. Well, yes, okay. And it's off to a good start. So I think I will just invite the man of the hour, Mr. Rand Timmerman.
Hi, thank you.
How do you say it?
Appalachian Trail.
Yes.
Appalachian Trail.
So my excuse is that like English is not my first language, so that's why sometimes I can't say stuff, and sometimes I hear stuff that is not correct.
That's
So
okay.
you are not allowed to have abbreviations. You have to be careful because I could hear something totally different.
Okay.
So, Mr. Rand, the reason for you are here, and you almost gave me a heart attack because you showed up 2 minutes before we started, and I had all kinds of thought in my head because you are a little bit older than 29.
Yes.
So, but you showed up, so I'm happy. So let's dive into who is Rand Timmerman and why is it that I'm going to talk to you?
Okay. Well, thank you, Hayden. I really appreciate the opportunity. My latest claim to fame is hiking the Appalachian Trail. It's
Yeah.
2,200 miles, the longest footpath only trail in the world. Goes from Springer Mountain, Georgia to Ketadin Mountain in Maine. Goes over 600 mountains. 300 of them have names. Every state has a bear mountain. And it has almost a 500,000 feet of elevation changes, 465,000 to be precise. So it is a beast. And I had thought about doing it when I was a much younger man, but God had a different plan for me, apparently.
Yeah, you were
So
busy.
I did it when I was 72. I'm 80 years old now, and I did it with my brother. And I wrote a book about it, as you pointed out, called A Spiritual Passage. It's called that because my brother and I had two different versions of spirituality. Well, I had none for many years, but and then when I went to the Vietnam War, I lost every bit I had for sure. Could not comprehend how God could allow people to do that to each other. And my brother was always a religious person, a spiritual person, I should say. And we both grew up in a very rural area in upstate New York, more cows than people. And around 5 years old, I looked around and said, "You're screwed. You're screwed. You you got dealt a really bad hand." And then for a long time, I felt like God was punishing us. I came from a family of warriors, Hayden. My father was one of them. He was a Mustang pilot in World War II. Came home, married my mom, had me, had my brother, and got polio.
Yes.
Got polio. People don't realize how bad polio. It was way worse than COVID. In my little town of 2,500 people, there was somebody disabled by polio literally on every street. The lady across the road that had four boys, in a wheelchair her whole adult life. And my dad got it so bad that he had two cousins that got it the same day and both died the first day. But somehow he managed to get to the hospital and in an iron lung for 8 months. Changed him. I'm sure it changed him. And so, at 5 years old, I'm looking around and I'm like, oh my God, we are very, very poor people. We were very poor. And then, but my father was a very hardworking man and very well disciplined, a very moral man, not a spiritual man by any stretch, but a moral man. And my mother was the spiritual one, of course. And we were surrounded by farms. And 12 years old, I'm driving a tractor. I'm a trapper. I'm a hunter. Put meat on the table, literally, at times. And at 12 or 13 years old, I get invited to a party. And I went there, and this has to do with my alcoholism. Hayden. So I get invited to this party. I go with the boy across the street. We're both 5'8". He weighs 200 pounds. I weigh 90 pounds. I have acne like unbelievable. My clothes all have patches on them. My shoes have holes in the bottom because everything we had was worn out by somebody else, basically, at that point in my life. And I found a bottle of Jim Beam in the basement. And I took that first sip with my friend. We abandoned the party pretty much right after that. And I took that first sip, and I was like, how can anybody drink this stuff? But then
Yeah.
then that warm feeling went down my body, and all of a sudden, my gosh, I'm 6'4". I'm Clint Eastwood. I'm handsome. I'm sexy. I'm everything I ever wanted to be. I swear I drank more of it than David did.
At
We
what age?
literally crawled a mile to get home, like from one tree to the next. We could not walk anymore.
But you were not 12 at that time.
Yeah,
Were you 12? How old were you?
I was 13, I think, 12, 13, right in that neighborhood. And I
Oh,
got,
phew.
yeah, when I got home, my bed was in a cot in the basement, basically. And I
Yeah.
laid down, and all of a sudden I realized the room was going to start spinning really fast. And I figured out real quick, if I rotated my eyes at the same speed, I wasn't spinning anymore, and I just passed out. The
Oh
next
my.
morning I get up and I hear my dad out in the garage. He was always busy. He's out in the garage and working on something. And I thought, I gotta face the music. So I went up to tell him, and I stood way back because you never knew what was going to happen for sure. So I told him, and he just looked at me and goes, well, don't ever do that again. And my brain is screaming, I can't wait. I can't wait.
Yeah.
I knew it was going to be a problem. And he goes, and David's in the hospital. See, I knew right then that somehow that this could be a problem. This could be, but I liked it. I knew I liked it way too much, Hayden. I just knew it. And I made a vow. The good part was I made a vow I will never do drugs. And I never did drugs, not even marijuana, because I knew alcohol did everything I want. Everything I could imagine alcohol did for me. So, but poverty, I didn't abuse alcohol for quite a few years, and then but I did learn one other thing about myself and alcohol. I could not make a big decision without getting drunk.
Well, yes.
Yeah,
Okay.
the founders of our the recovery program I got into when I was 65 years old because I couldn't stop drinking anymore. One of them wrote about his wife. She would tell him that he drank too much, and he would say, well, all great men come up with their best ideas when they're drunk. Well, I didn't know it, but that was kind of my mantra way back when.
But wait a minute. In context of time, so you were born in, you said you were 82 now.
I'm 80. I was born in 1946.
So we are talking about this is around 59. And your
It would have
dad
been,
got,
yeah, right. Yep,
uh,
58, 59, somewhere in there.
and then you don't drink like from, so you were not heavy drinker when you went to Vietnam.
No, I kind of drank normally. Well, in the Marine
Define
Corps,
normally. You
yeah.
can't do that. You can't say, well, I drank normally.
I pretty much always drank to get drunk, but I did not drink a lot of the time. I was determined to get up. I resented poverty beyond anything you could imagine.
Yeah.
I mean, I was pretty much working a full time in something or other from the time I was like 13 on, and trying to get out of Dodge. I really wanted to be growing up and on my own pretty quick, but it didn't work out that way. But I also got involved in Boy Scouts and I played sports and I had buddies and we'd drink beer on the weekends sometimes, stuff like that. It didn't overpower me by any stretch for a long time.
But
But I did
how?
get,
Yeah. Sorry. Sorry.
so in 1966, I was in college. I'm working 3 jobs. I'm a janitor working from midnight to 8 o'clock at my old school, cleaning toilets. I'm a pin setter in a bowling alley. This was before automatic setters, and I'm selling Amway, which was a like door-to-door thing that I
Mm-hmm.
could do on the weekends to make extra money. And I had changed my major 3 times, and the third time I changed it to psychology because I realized I was a nut job and I had no clue what I wanted to be when I actually grew up, right?
Okay.
I had been a math major. I think I was a political science major, and then I went to psychology. And then, anyway, so one night I would save up my change for my jobs, and then I would go on these weekend. I would go one weekend a month to get drunk, right? So in February of 1966, I went into a bar in Oswego, New York, and it was snow. And up there, you get 300 inches of snow every winter. We got a lot of snow because we're on the east side of Lake Ontario. And I got drunk. And I stayed in that bar until Monday morning when I heard somebody put a key in the lock to the door, and I'm on the pool. I just came to, woke up, whatever. I'm on the pool table. There's nobody in there. And then right around that time, somebody puts a key in the door and comes in. It's the owner, right? And he doesn't pay any attention to me at all. He goes behind the bar, starts cleaning glasses and stuff, turns on the radio, and they're talking about the 1st Marine Division going into Vietnam. And they were talking about the kill ratio. And I'm laying there with my eyes closed, and then finally I opened my eyes and I sat up and I'm going to enlist in the Marine Corps. I sat up. The guy was mopping the floor by the table. I think he wanted me to get the hell out of his bar, and I just looked at him and I jumped down. And a month later, I'm in the War Memorial in Syracuse, New York, going, I pledged to defend my country against enemies, foreign and domestic. And a few minutes later, I'm on a bus and I'm headed to Paris Island. So,
Wait a minute. So you had a hangover when you decided to go enlist in the military.
yes.
Like? What did your mother say? Like, what did they say? Just like, oh yes, good idea.
Um,
But that was in the
I don't.
beginning of the that was in the beginning of the war, wasn't it?
Yeah, my parents were old school. They never said they loved you, or they never said
Right. Yeah.
good job, kiddo. Nothing like that. More it was like, man, you're a real screw up. You'll never amount to anything. But my brother Ron, who's a year younger than me, had went into the army. So when I'm laying on that pool table, he's in Vietnam fighting. He was a machine gunner on a helicopter. So he'd already gone. We had warrior. We were a warrior family. My dad, Mustang pilot. I had 2 uncles that fought in World War II. They never talked about any of that stuff. One of them was on it was a bombardier, not a bombardier. He was a gunner underneath the plane. It was a B-17, I believe, in World War II. And they did his 50 missions, and the next crew got shot down a week later. So there's a lot of patriotism in my family. Let's put it that way. And nobody ever said you got to go fight in Vietnam or anything like that, but they were fine with it. And obviously my
Oh,
brother was already gone. So, and Actually, I was a little bit concerned I might not get there before it was over. That was crazy. I actually
Well,
thought that. Yeah, I get to
how,
Paris. I get to
yeah, yeah.
Paris Island, and for the first week, they weren't ready for us. The normal training cycle was 12 weeks. They had pushed it down to 8, so they were overwhelmed with the recruits. And I spent the first week in my jeans, my Hawaiian shirt, and my jean jacket cleaning toilets. And this is why I joined the Marine Corps. I didn't want to clean toilets anymore, right? Like I'm,
So you, so you went from the janitor job to the.
and I'm
Oh
looking
my
at,
God!
yeah.
Now I'm worried that I will not survive this conversation because you make me laugh. This is just okay. In the it's very serious, but this is just amazing how you just like, yeah, I will just do this. But like the Vietnam, how long did you stay there then? Like if it when you got 8 weeks of training, what was that to shine your boots or?
No, that was boot camp, and then we had, we had more training. Altogether, we had probably a good solid 4 months by the time I got ready to ship over, and then we did combat training at Camp Lejeune after boot camp, and then we did. I don't know. I think we did. I know I spent a week shooting machine guns, Camp Geiger, and anyway, we ended up in Camp Pendleton, which is in San Diego. It's in out in California, and that was going to be our shipping point. We did a whole bunch more combat exercises in the desert, and there's no deserts in Vietnam. It's all jungle and
No, yes.
valley. So that was, and then just this was very important, Hayden, because it changed my whole trajectory. So we had, well, two things. One was funny. A couple days before we left to go overseas, we had finished our training. We knew we were going to go any day, right? The Marine Corps never told you what you were going to do on a daily basis. You were supposed
Uh-huh.
to be ready to do anything. And they marched the battalion in front of an old hangar, and they reversed it. I'm a Timmerman. I was normally in the last company, the last platoon, the last squad. I was used to having 1,250 other guys go through whatever it was before it was my turn because I was always last. And they reversed the battalion. So I'm first for the first time ever.
Yeah.
So I'll go in that door. I walk into the side of the hangar through a doorway, down a hallway, turn left, go down, take another left, and I can see there's 8 corpsmen lined up, 2 rows of them, 4 on each side, with inoculation guns. The rest of the battalion is still outside, standing at attention on the cement, you know, in 100-degree heat. It's hotter than heck. So I walk down that line and they shoot me with their inoculation guns. Well, I must have flinched a couple times because when I got through that line and started to walk out the hangar, I had blood literally running down my arms and dripping off my fingertips. And when I walked out that door into the sunlight, Marines started fainting like crazy. I mean, by the dozens, they're just dropping because they don't know what the hell happened to me, right? If I had been standing out there, I probably would have fainted too. So that was kind of a funny thing that happened. But anyway, a really bad thing that happened to me was the last day, in which, like the next day, was going to be our last formation, and we were shipping out, right? And a sergeant comes out with a clipboard. This is never a good sign. And he yells out my name. So I march from the back of the battalion all the way to the front, stand at attention in front of him and say, "Yes, sir." And he goes, "You're going on mess duty for 30 days. And I said, "What?" I tried to argue with him. You do not argue.
No.
So my mates that I trained with all left. And for 30 days, no lie, every morning I got up at 4 o'clock. I went to the mess hall. I sat on a stool and I peeled. There would be a pile of potatoes 10 feet high beside me. And I would peel potatoes nonstop until like 4, 5, or 6 o'clock in the evening. And I did that for 30 days straight. So by the time I went to Vietnam, I was basically with all the other stragglers, right? I never saw hardly any of those guys again. So it had a profound effect on my experiences in Vietnam. First night I got there, monsoon raining. It was dark as hell. I'm pretty nervous, right? I'm at the 1st Marine Division headquarters, south, was west of Da Nang. I got assigned to the 1st Marine Division, the one I had heard on the radio, 7, 8 months before. And a guy takes me to the armory. I get my flak jacket, my rifle, my grenades. I get all my gear, right? And he's taking me to this tent, and I'm going to stay in it. It's a wall tent. It's like 50 men in it with sandbags and everything. And it's pouring rain. And he reaches for the flap, and we hear bang. And all of a sudden, inside the tent just explodes with noise and people screaming, medic, medic, medic. And so I had to stand out in the rain for quite a while. They took the body out, the Marine, and the guy that was leading me, he had left. I don't blame him at all. And finally, eventually, I end up inside there, and I'm like, what the hell happened? And I'm just sitting there on a cot. These guys, there's like 50 of them, had come out of the field the day before. And they didn't have time to process. So they just put them in this tent, right? And they gave them all their mail. We would get our mail in a big bundle like that. And when you get your mail, you're going to look for certain letters right away, right? Well, apparently this guy had looked for one letter from his girlfriend, the most recent one, because he's going home tomorrow, right? He opens it up and it says, Dear John, I don't know how to tell you this, but I met somebody else. It's been a whirlwind. We got married yesterday.
Oh my God.
And Hayden, he reached down, picked up his pistol, and killed himself.
Oh
and I'm
my
like,
God.
yeah. And I'm like, this is not good. I don't know.
And you just arrived.
I just got there, yeah. And, and I say, well, it can't get much worse than this. And well, it did. It did for
Yeah,
sure.
well, yes, I believe you. Let's move forward. So, how long did you stay in Vietnam? And your brother, how long did you stay?
I stayed 13 months. And one other thing that happened that it relates to the fact that I didn't get to go with my people that I had trained with
Yeah.
is that I did meet one guy, and I was in a situation where they would send me out on one-man type missions to use, take stuff out and give them. So I would go somewhere in like to they'd send me to a company, and I would go there. I'd look for the company commander. I'd say, "Sir, the colonel gave me this stuff. This is important. You need to see this." And then one day I did that, and I could hear fire. I knew there was a firefight going on. That's a battle, right, going on.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, well, before you go back, you need to go down to the 1st platoon, and they got a prisoner, and you need to take him back to the headquarters battalion. Yes, sir. Where do I go? He said, go right down that trail. I said, by myself? He said, yeah. I said, go ahead. You'll be fine. So I'm walking down this trail in the jungle in Vietnam to get a prisoner, right, where people are still fighting. And they give me the prisoner. He's tied up in the right way, and he's got a bit, he's got a blindfolded and so on and so forth. And so I take him back up to the company, and he says, go out to the resupply point where you came in, and they'll pick you up there. And I said, by myself? Yeah, you'll be fine. Go ahead. They're not going to spare men in a battle, right? So I take this guy out, and I get there. There's nobody there. So I tied him to a tree, and I started walking. I did like a one-man perimeter thing, just keep, and pretty soon some trucks come in with supplies, ammo, water, all that kind of stuff. We're going to resupply the people. And one of the guys yells my name, Timmer. And it turns out it's one of the guys that I got separated from in Camp Pendleton, right? So he jumps out of his truck, and we're glad handing and yakking away for a few seconds. And then all of a sudden I hear this horrible scream. And I knew right away, oh, damn. And so I run over behind the truck where the tree is that I tied the prisoner to, and the driver pulled the truck forward because he backed right into the tree.
Uh-oh.
And he crushed his chest. He's not going to make it. There's no medic there or anything. And I untied him and laid him down, and I held his hands and watched him die. And I thought,
This this is just unbelievable because we got the stories. I think I was when was it that the Vietnam War was finished in 74, 75?
75. Yeah.
So I was 8 years old, and it was just horrifying, and all the
Yeah.
pictures and stuff. So I'm surprised that you kept your wits. And because when you stayed there for 13 months and you didn't have to go back, was
Well,
that
I
the
thought I
only
was going to
thing
go
that?
back, but I didn't. No. Well, the Marine Corps did me a huge favor too because it gave me a career, believe it or not. So what happened is after I came back from Vietnam, and by the way, I had some pretty bad things happen, over there that affected me after I became a civilian again. And but I came back, and the last couple of months I was there, they made me what's called a Mustang lieutenant because lieutenants didn't do well in Vietnam, right?
Okay.
They probably had the highest mortality rate and certainly wounded and so on and so forth. So the last couple of months I did lieutenant stuff, and then a colonel talked to me. He said, "You can go back to corporal and go back home and get out because I was a 2-year enlisted, or you can go to OCS, Officer Candidate School, and you'll become a real second lieutenant, and they won't be able to take it away from you, but you're going to have to re-up for 3 years." So that's what I did. Because I didn't have it. Hayden, I still didn't know what the hell I wanted to be when I grew up.
So,
And
so was it there where you turned into a lawyer, or was it?
well,
So you were just training to be an officer, or?
no, I was being trained to be an infantry officer. The plan would have been that I would have gone back as a second lieutenant, a real second lieutenant. But I decided I didn't want to be in the grunts anymore. I didn't want to be in the infantry. So I requested as part of it that I go in the air wing. So they sent me, in the end, they sent me to the 1st Marine Air Wing, which was the air wing that I went through in Da Nang to get the 1st Marine Division. And so I was a little bit familiar with them already. But anyway, and then when I got there after 9 months of being trained as an officer, I had a guardian angel in the Marine Corps. He had been my drill instructor. They made him a Mustang lieutenant in Vietnam, a 1st lieutenant, and then a captain. And then they sent him to, I didn't know this, but he was at 1st Marine Air Wing. So when I show up that day on a Sunday, he is the captain of the day. So we do hugs and kisses, not literally, but
Yeah.
He said, he said, "What? You want to go to school?" "I don't know. What do you got?" And he's rattling off these schools, and he said, "Rhode Island." And I said, literally, "I've never been to Rhode Island before. What's that one?" He says, "It's JAG School, Judge Advocate General. It's the school for lawyers." So, Monday, next day, I'm in Rhode Island at the school with 99 other Marine officers. They're all captains, they're all law school graduates. And I'm a second lieutenant with no college, without a college degree, right? So I'm just kind of a schmuck to them because Anyway, and 20 of us got a mansion. It was the off season, so we each had our own room, and these guys are partying because they just finished law school and all that stuff. And I decided to not drink during the week. I'm gonna work at this. This is kind of interesting because I had been trained, in the Marine Corps. Enlisted men have to learn about the UCMJ, the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So I knew about the code, the laws of the Marine Corps, basically, all the armed forces. So anyway, I worked at it really hard, and I ended up with the highest score. I ended up being the class honor man for that class of lawyers for the Marine Corps. Pissed everybody off. So I went back to Cherry Point. So now I'm going to be a legal officer and the other part of it too, the air support stuff. I would have gone back to Vietnam almost certainly as a forward observer, which is a really dangerous job. But every time it came up for me to go, all of a sudden I'd have orders from my friend sending me down to Roosevelt Roads to do court martials. And then I'd come back and I wouldn't be on the list anymore. I wouldn't be on the top. And this happened twice. And I go, sir, what's going on? He says, you dumbass, why do you think I'm sending you down there? Because if you go back to Vietnam, you will not survive the second time. There's no way in hell. So he did me a favor, and the Marine Corps did me a favor. The first two guys I defended, they make you a defense lawyer in the beginning. The first two guys I defended, they were both acquitted, which was unheard of. You're not judged by your peers in the military justice system. Usually it's a colonel, a lieutenant colonel, a major, maybe a captain or a lieutenant. And I had one guy, he was charged with sleeping on post, which is like doomsday in the Marine Corps. That's 2 years of Fort Leavenworth prison and then a dishonorable discharge. So then after that, they made me a prosecutor. That's how you solve that problem. Somebody's good at being a defense counsel.
Like we could talk about this, like we have a half an hour left and we are still talking about Vietnam. But like this is how on earth and where is your brother in all of this? What did he get?
So my brother comes home after he did 2 tours, comes home, and our mother's best friend's name is Edie. Edie is a divorcee with 7 kids, hanging out with my mother. And the next thing I know, my brother's riding around with her. She's wearing a miniskirt, red cowboy boots, and they're going line dancing. Up there, it's country music in those days, a big thing. And he fell madly in love with her. And he married our mother's best friend with 7 kids. They got involved in the Mormon church, moved to Utah, and my brother was the happiest. One of the things he told me on the trail, Hayden, that was amazing, he started talking about, we hiked the trail because Edie had died. Edie died on November 17th, 2017. We hiked the Appalachian Trail starting in March of 2018.
But Rand, he was like he's born in 1947, and E.T. was born in.
Edie would have been born in 1933, almost the same age as our mother, actually, a little bit younger, but not.
So she was 14 years older than your brother.
Yes, and
that
he
is,
ended up when she died. He had 7 kids, their stepkids, but he was their dad. He became their dad real quick.
Yeah, of course.
And they had 27 grandchildren, and now they have like 30 great-grandchildren. 27 when Edie died. 27 grandchildren, 27 great-grandchildren. Can you imagine? Huge family. My brother was the happiest man on the planet. When we were hiking the trail one day, he started talking about Edie. And he said, the best thing about my wife, Rand, was, or bro, when she woke up every morning, she was happy. She was happy. She was always happy every morning just to be alive. I said to him, where the heck do you find a wife like that? But that was the way, that's how they were.
But your mother, how like when was she born?
My mother was born in 1924, I believe. 26. Somewhere.
She was the same age as my mother. Oh, this is so embarrassing.
Yeah.
But okay, so I found these numbers. So 7, 27, 27. Is that your brother or is it you?
No, that's him.
So that is him.
Yeah,
Because I was just like, what is with this 7? Like 7 kids, 27 grandkids, and then 27 great grandchildren.
Yeah,
and then you say they are 30. Yeah, they have increased.
Yeah, now it's at least 30. They moved to Utah, and Ron became a bishop in the Mormon church. He did a lot of funerals, a lot of weddings, all kinds. They had an awesome life out there. I had never been there until after Edie died. I went out in January of 2018 because Ronnie had said something about hiking the Appalachian Trail, and I knew that was a crazy idea. That wasn't going to work very well. He came back. He became a commercial pilot, not people, but freight mostly. And then he ended up being he flew people on the Grand Canyon, tourists. He would fly them up and down the Grand Canyon. Can you imagine?
Yeah.
Sightseers.
But okay, becoming Mormons, because in my mind, coming from Iceland, Mormons, they have maybe more than one wife. So he did not,
No,
he was not
no,
there.
no. But what they do, they marry very young. He's 16, 17, 18 are not unheard of. And then they screw like rabbits and they have all kinds of kids.
So, so they are
No,
like
they do. They
these.
love family. They are wonderful, wonderful people.
So they are the reason for the Duracell rabbits.
Yeah, exactly. And they're the reason why
What?
my brother has to send somebody a card with money in it pretty much every other day during the year. Graduations, birthdays, holidays, you name it.
What about your life? Like, did you meet a significant other and have kids and stuff, or were you just because of your alcoholism? Did you then skip that part?
No, I had met a girl the day before I went in the Marine Corps, and she started writing me letters. I started writing her letters, and then when I came home from leave after Vietnam for 30 days, I would hang out with her every day, and then I would ditch her at some point in the evening, and then I would get drunk with my buddies. But at the end of all that, I was engaged to marry her, and she
Okay.
ended up being the mother of my three kids. Turned out she had a very serious alcohol problem too. I've been married 4 times. Alcoholics, especially ones with some kind of trauma in their lives, tend to make bad decisions when they drink, and I did that a fair amount. I did. The rest of my life was pretty good, actually. I ran 26 marathons. I was kind of an animal. Ski races in the
Wait,
wintertime.
wait, wait a minute. 26 marathons while you were an alcoholic or after you were an alcoholic?
Well, I'm
Like
always
when
been,
you,
but yeah, no,
yeah, but yeah, like
I
were
worked
you
really hard.
drinking and then just okay? Oh, I have to run a marathon. Like this is just
I did run a couple of them pretty hungover, but
Oh my.
in those days I controlled it pretty well. I worked very hard. I liked being a lawyer. I was a good lawyer. I bought stuff, invested in stuff. I made a fair amount of money. I didn't want to be poor again, so I was driven. Alcohol didn't really become a serious problem for me until I was in my late 50s. In my late 50s, I knew this is getting a little out of hand. And in my early 60s, I really, I started to lose control. I ended up retiring because I'd had a great career. Nobody really understood how much I was, what I was doing. And so I retired, and I had already gotten involved in a recovery program, which I'm in now, of course. And a guy took me through the steps in this program, and I got sober, and then I started helping other men, and I've been sober now almost 12 years. So by the
But
time we hiked the Appalachian Trail, I had been sober 4 years.
so when you realized that you have this problem, were you on wife number four, or like where were you in the process of like, in the marriage? Like, I'm just like, this is unbelievable, Rand, and you're still alive.
Yeah, I know. I shouldn't have been. I shouldn't have survived the Appalachian Trail, to be honest with you. That was pretty. So nobody was shooting at me, so that made it a lot easier. But
Yeah,
that was.
yeah. But so you only got three kids with the first wife, and then like the others, you did not get kids
I have
with.
one stepdaughter that I consider to be like one of my daughters, and I've been
Yeah.
on her. She was about 12, and we were very, very close. And she's got. I have 7 grandkids. 4 of them are my stepdaughter's kids, and she's in the Army. She's career. One of my daughters was in the Marine Corps for a while. They were all driven. You come from that warrior class. You're gonna, yeah.
I'm just amazed. Like this is you are the best. This is the best thing because when you meet a person who has lived been in Vietnam. Like I met this old lady from England, and she survived World War II.
Hmm.
She was telling us about how her brother, he always flew over her farm. They came from a farm. And then one day she could hear the plane. There was a plane in the air, and she ran out and started waving. And then all of a sudden, it was a Spitfire, like it was a German plane. So you were just like, your jaw was just on the like. So I'm talking to you, and this is just mind blowing. And considering maybe you were in Vietnam at a time where it was not as bad as it was during the last years, where everything was just a chaos and they couldn't
No,
back out.
it was actually worse in the beginning. It was
Oh,
actually
yeah,
we won the war in 1968, the year after I came back from there. We went during what they called the Tet Offensive. By August of 1968, we wiped out all the North Vietnamese regiments that came down in that offensive. We destroyed all of the organized army of the Viet Cong. We had won the war. The guys that came after August of 68 were doing a lot of miserable marching in the jungles. They weren't running into a whole lot of people because we'd killed them all. It was only after that, you're right, at the end of 72, 73, it really started getting bad again. But we had it, the politics were just unreal. That affected me a lot too, by the way, Hayden. When 75 happened and, you saw that picture of that last helicopter, I'm like, damn, 59,000 American service people, men and women, died for nothing. It just made me sick to my stomach. What a loss.
and all for what? Like that is also like all for what? Why were they? Why was America doing this? It's not like okay, yes, of course, America, they had the power, they were the superpower and stuff, and they had the force and everything, but the pride, and as you say, 60,000 men, 60,000 people just wasted,
Yeah.
and that is
Yeah.
horrible. But let's dive into like because okay, I gather that this experience and the drinking and marrying four women and when you realize. So when you and your brother decide to go, and this was how long? Like 22, 2,200 miles. I didn't even calculate it to kilometers. I don't know what that is, but so how for how long did you walk?
Altogether, it was about 6 months. Yeah, we
Straight,
started,
like
pardon?
straight, or was it straight
No,
6 months? So you
so
took.
every year about 3 million people hike some part of the Appalachian Trail, but only about 2,500 to 3,000 try to do the whole thing. And of that, about 17% or about 500 people a year actually do the whole thing. And, you know, very few of them are in their 70s. I'll just put it that way.
Uh,
Ronnie and I did 1,463 miles in 2018, and I never forget. It was in the middle of August, and we were in New Jersey, I think, and I came out one day and he was standing there he wasn't unpacking like you normally would have been doing, getting ready to set up and everything, and he's just standing there with his hands on his knees. He said, "You want to go home?" I said, "Sure." I mean, we both weighed 155 pounds. We both lost about 30, 35 pounds. It was just, we were averaging 11 miles a day in the mountains, but to do that, you're hiking from 7 o'clock in the morning to 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I mean, you
Yeah,
can,
and the like when you are going upwards all the time or whatnot, it must be crazy.
yeah, it was exhausting. It was also, for me, it was exhilarating. It was very painful. I have an artificial knee, my left leg. My right leg is a half inch shorter from all that running and all that, and an accident I had and other things, and so I was in a lot of pain most of the time. But I like to brag. I'm the limpiest man, the man with a limp to hike the trail. But the next year, Ronnie called me and he said, "You want to try to finish it?" And I said, "Sure." So we went back. I could tell you all kinds of stories about it. It was amazing. I took 5,000 pictures, Hayden. Ronnie kept a journal. His journal was very precise about every day where we went, how far, the trail names of all the people that we met any given day, and then just story. A lot of funny things happened. So one day we were in the first year we were hiking in part of Virginia, and the mountain we were climbing was called Hogback Mountain. I'm by myself on this day, and I left early, so I'm climbing this mountain. I hear people coming up behind me, and I turn around, and it's Growler and two women, and they're naked. Yeah, they don't have any clothes on. And I look at Growler because we'd been in a bubble. They call it a bubble when you see the same people day in and day out for a while, and then somebody stops and goes home for a couple, whatever, you know. So you get in these groups, and I'd been in the same group with him. He looked like Paul Bunyan, like a 29-year-old Paul Bunyan, great big, powerful man, big beard, jovial. He was a lot of fun to be around. And then he had his girlfriend and this other lady. And I turn around, I look at him, he goes, "Rand, you didn't get the memo. It's Bare Naked Day on the Appalachian Trail." And I just said, "Well, I'm going to do everybody a favor, keep my clothes on." So, so when I turn around, the girls are in front, right? Well, I pull off to let them go by because they're gonna go faster than me for sure. So I let them go by. Well, when they went by me, somehow Growler ended up in the back. So I started climbing up the mountain. It's called Hogback Mountain. So I'm hiking up Hogback Mountain behind Growler, who's got as much
Stark
hair on his
naked.
buttocks as he does on his face almost. And I couldn't take it. I pulled over. I got to wait till these people get out of sight. There's just no way I can do this.
But you like and when you were walking, like when you and your brother, like what did you talk about? How is it? Because you mentioned that because your brother he was in more into religion than you. You were not like there was something like when you were younger that just decided maybe you. When was it that you decided that God was like? Was it in Nam or was it before? You
The
mentioned that
God
you lost.
thing?
Yeah, you lost your faith, like because like
Yeah, I
you.
lost it. Uh, in my teens, I began, I don't know, I couldn't, a loving God, and then he had all these rules, and I'm stealing food because I'm hungry all the time, and, I'm breaking rules, and I'm like, I could never figure it out. And then when I got to Vietnam, and that guy shot himself, and then a little while after that, and first big battle, and we're fighting like crazy, and guys are dying, and I'm like, I felt like I was not as good as a lot of the men I was with. I was never felt quite as good, you know what I mean? They were bigger and stronger and better looking and all that kind of stuff in my mind. And then when they started dying for no good reason, I was just like, okay. And obviously God wasn't helping us out. So I like, this is up to you, and I felt like a banshee. I didn't realize how much rage I could generate when somebody was trying to kill me. That really just ticked me off big time. These people are actually trying to kill me. I need to kill them
Well,
first. It's crazy.
yes, of course, but Red, when you and your brother were walking together, and he being coming from the Mormons, being a bishop, and like what he has done, like did you learn from him stuff, or was it vice versa? Did you teach him something, or like how?
Oh,
This is just like I gather that you were. Did you have your hanky with you? Like, were you crying all the time, or and not just because of the pain? This is
no.
just
I fell
amazing.
down every day. Ronnie and I didn't walk together. Number one, I couldn't keep up with him because of my limp.
Yeah.
We walk the same pace, but I would be like a step or two, an inch or two behind each step. So I just fall way behind. And most of the time he went south and I went north. We had two vehicles. So what we did was we parked on the Appalachian Trail every night pretty much. There's roads going across it every 10 to 15 miles, except for like in Priest and in the Smoky Mountains and like that. You know, there's 70, 75-mile stretches, some places where you have to hike with a full pack, which we did. But a lot of times, so we would park, when we got done one day, we would park on the trail. In the morning, Ronnie would drive down to a valley, go up to the next trail that crossed the road, usually somewhere, like I said, between 10 and 15 miles away. And then he would walk south and I would walk north. Then he would get my truck, drive back around to where he had parked on the trail, and we would just stay there, right? And then, so we kept doing that. I like to brag I slept in a tent every night, but it was usually right next to my truck, which had all the food in it we needed and water and stuff like that. So we did a little bit different than most people, but yeah, we didn't talk much at night. I mean, I remember one night, Ronnie goes, Duran, there's a lot of weird people out here, and I go, hey, bro, we're yeah, there's a lot of weird people. We're weird people. And he goes, we're not weird. We're normal people. I go, no, Ron, we're weird. Normal people don't do this.
And definitely not at 70 whatnot. But this is unbelievable. This is crazy. And my friend Rap from UK, he says that it's like walking from New York to LA.
Yeah. Well,
Just,
no, LA's 3,000 miles, but it's like two-thirds. It's probably to like Tucson, Arizona or someplace. I don't know.
I just calculated the distance, and it's 3,540 kilometers. And Iceland, the round trip around Iceland is 17 somewhat kilometers. So you definitely walked twice around Iceland by doing the trail.
Yeah, I'd rather go a different direction the second time, but other than that, no problem.
Yeah, it is amazing. But what is it that you, because if you and your brother, you did not speak as much, because when you are walking 11 miles upwards, sweating, la la la, and then you take a like the night or whatever. Like what? Like you were alone then in your own thoughts, and like what went through your head? What did you
Um,
do not to get, as you say, to use your brother's words, like that you are not the weird people?
yeah, Ronnie marched. For him, it was more about replacing the emotional pain of the loss of Edie with physical
Yeah,
exert.
yeah,
So he was kind of head down. There were lots of days he would only take one or two pictures, if any. I did it completely different. I'm like, I'm never going to walk this way again. Every once in a while, I say, you're never going to step here again. You need to keep your, enjoy it, look around. And I took some days I would take 40 or 50 pictures because I would come around the corner and my brain would go, oh my God, look at that. That is unbelievably beautiful. And I have pictures of bears and snakes and all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was just amazing the things that happened. So I knew this was a once in a lifetime thing. For Ronnie, it was more like running a race, and he wanted to win by doing it, right? So we had a whole different mindset, which was a good thing because his journal was way different than mine. And when I put them both together to make the book with the 500 pictures originally, I was just doing it so our family would have a record of what it was like. And then I ended up getting a publisher, and now the whole world can see it. And I did talk in there about how I got sober, and Ronnie talked about some of his spiritual stuff. Ronnie had a breakdown on the trail one night. It was pretty bad. We both had PTSD from the war.
yeah, yeah.
He had a spiritual experience one day that changed everything for him on Father's Day of 2018. And we were in the Shenandoah Mountains, and it was a dark day. And we actually ran into a ranger, and Ronnie said, we happened to be together on this day. And it's so dark in here. No, we had just met. That's what it was. You need a flashlight in the middle of the day. And then he went off by himself, and he came around the corner. It was Father's Day of 2018, and there was this bright light. He took a picture of it. It's in the book. It's unbelievable how it's like a halo on the trail, and you can see, it looks like somebody's standing in it. That's what it looked like to me anyway. Like, it could be Jesus, it could be Buddha. I don't know what it was, but Ronnie felt like, oh my God, he wanted to turn and run. It was so spiritually profound for him. He's like, no, I've never ran from everything. I got to face up to this. And so he walked towards it, and he felt like he could feel Edie's presence and our Father's, and saying, it's okay, Ron, it's okay. You're going to be okay. Everything's going to be fine. And he had a moment of transformation from a spiritual, and he felt like his grief was being lifted out of him. So that's one of the reasons why it's called a spiritual passage. And then I had a situation in the Smoky Mountains. I almost died in a really bad spot. And I mean, there's a million places on that Appalachian Trail, Hayden. You take one misstep and you're gone, and nobody will ever even find your body. I mean, it's unbelievable how it's a miracle there aren't more people that don't survive it. One day, real quick story, I'm walking, and I could see where somebody had stepped on the edge of the trail, and it had collapsed. And the trail, I mean, it looks like it's like 90 degrees down, but it's really not. It's probably 30 or 40 degrees, but it looks like very steep. And you could see where they bounced down the mountain and out of sight into the trees, right? And I'm going, oh my God. And I was alone. And I'm going, oh my God. And I'm yelling, are you okay? I didn't see it happen. I don't know what. So finally I did the Marine Corps thing. I went down a ways, dropped my pack, went back and started down the mountain. Well, as soon as I stepped off that trail, I'm sliding. I'm using both poles to kind of brake myself. And I went down, I don't know, maybe a couple 100 feet. And I'm like, you're going to get killed doing this, right? And it didn't look like they'd ever stopped. So then I try to get back on the trail. I can't get back on the trail. I have to go sideways. And every time I take a step, it seems like I'm slipping down more instead. So anyway, it takes me like an hour to go down the trail until I can finally get up. Then I got to walk back, get my pack, go back down again. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Somebody just probably died. And then after I went past the point where I came up, a little further along, I see where somebody had come up. So they actually had survived. And I'm like, thank God. Oh my God, that was so amazing. I never found out anything more about that one, but I could tell you stories all day long. It was amazing. Amazing event. You know what about combat guys like me and my brother and most veterans, we like adventure. We just do,
Yeah, you must get, when you have been in the military, there must be something that, like, there were so many stories that, like, you had your head somewhat like snaps, or like there is something like you have to, like, meet a bear and fight a bear. Like, it's a stupid idea, but there is this urge to do something. I will call it stupid.
Yeah, absolutely.
Adrenaline seeking, like, because you have been in such a situations that you have to just boom, get the injection. But when you were, like, you were 4 years into your sobriety when you walked the trail. What went, like, did you? What came up? What was the main theme when you were reading the diaries or your diary? What was the main thing that came up? Like, were you always thinking about your past? Were you thinking about Vietnam, or were you thinking about what you didn't remember when you were drunk, or what? Like, what was, like? Were there some themes or like threads that you could see reading
I
the
think
diary?
all of that, to be very honest, I mean, there are sections where you can kind of lackadaisically walk along, and I didn't think too much about Vietnam in those days. I was more being aware of other people, being aware of snakes and bears and stuff like that. I don't know. It
Yeah.
was exciting. I walked under a tree at one point and I heard a little noise and I knew instantly it was a bear in the tree above me. And then I realized I could smell it. And you do not want to mess around with bears. Okay. I did fake charges with bears before, and that's no fun at all. It is zero fun. It is nervous beyond belief. So I just kept walking the same pace. You cannot run from a bear. The minute you start running or show any fear, they will attack because they can't see very good. And if you're starting to move away from them, they see and smell and feel food.
Yes.
So you have to
Yes.
do the opposite. If a bear is threatening you, you need to turn and walk towards it. And that's hard to do. And then I would run sometimes in place, like, ah, screaming at it.
Yeah.
And the bear would charge
Yeah.
me. And I'm like, no, 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 no. But I can't move. I can't give up ground. Anyway, I've done that game, and it's no fun at all. Zero fun. And I didn't want to kill a bear. I had the means. Well,
Yeah.
you have to
Yeah.
be
Yeah.
damn
Yeah.
lucky,
Yeah. Yeah.
actually. So
But
anyway,
looking back, now there is what 7 years since you did this, 7 or 6 years,
well, it's
2018.
2018. So yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
it's
So
7 years.
so what? And now you have published a book. Is there anything like when you are working because you are, of course, you want to give back because somebody saved you from the drinking or like however we talk about it, like you saw the light by not drinking and the person who helped you like then you want to give
Hmm.
others the opportunity of life and stop drinking. So what is it that what do you take, what is the biggest learning of doing this? Because at the age of 72 you would expect that you have, because of everything that you have been talking about. You were poor, you were like, you liked the liquor when you were 13, you went to Vietnam, you went to law school, you did this and that, and then you drank and you had four wine. Like, what is the biggest learning of all of this? Because you, and I gather that you would not go back and change anything, like
I would not.
from, because that is the, would you do anything like to change your life? And you would probably say, like me, just like, why not? Like, why?
Right. No, you're right about that. I actually had a guy. I've been working with guys ever since I got sober and finished the steps myself initially, constantly, pretty much on a daily basis. And the guy asked me that a while back, and I said no because I wouldn't know what I know now. I had to do everything. I had to suffer. I had to make the stupid mistakes. When I first was asked to help a guy, I said, well, come back tomorrow because I was going to talk to my sponsor and I was sure he's going to tell me you're not ready. And he goes, oh, no, Rand, you're ready. Go for it. And I said, Billy, I'm not ready. He says, no, you're ready. You've had a lot of bad experience.
uh,
And now you've got some good experience sober as a sober man. And he was right. I knew how to live as a sober man. So I've been doing that ever since. What I would say is one step at a time.
uh.
If when I
But
got up
did
in the
you?
morning and I started hiking and I thought, I got to do, I had this thing on it tells me how many steps I take a day. We were doing
Uh,
45,000 steps a day. That's insane. And up or down, you're not walking flat hardly ever. You're either going up or going down, and down is harder,
yeah,
actually.
yeah, yeah. Because
Yeah.
you are, yeah.
But
But
one step at a time.
can't you say it half because you had a limp?
Yeah. So, but can I take the next step? Yeah, I can take the next step.
Yeah,
So one step at a time, and that's what I'm hoping the book will inspire people to do. Because as we get older, we get more afraid
yeah.
to try things or to do the things we love to do. And I'm thinking, no, no, just don't get a positive attitude. One step at a time. Get your walker. Take your oxygen bottle. Go to the go to the store. Go to the meeting. Go do stuff. Be happy. Make the best of what you got. One step at a time. We can do almost anything, no matter how
Did
old you are.
yeah, that's true. That's true. But did you line up with higher authority? Like, did you find your faith again?
Oh, yes, yes, absolutely. I would never have gotten sober without a higher power. So my sponsor taught me, the first thing he said to me after he got me out of detox, and I had just met, he took me to the emergency room 4 days before that and spent the whole day with me in the emergency room. It turned out he had 30 days of, or 30 years of, of sobriety in this group of people that are anonymous, and they all happen to be alcoholics.
Yeah, yeah.
And when he got me, he knew I was committed to do whatever he suggested I do and do the program that was, because that was my problem. I was too arrogant and too egotistical to think that I needed a God when that's exactly what I needed. And he knew it. And after that first meeting that he and I went to afterwards, everybody left. We're in the parking lot and he looks at me and he goes, Rand, you need to pray to that God you don't believe in. I go, Billy, you're not. And he said, or you will get drunk again. And I knew he was right. And we said some prayers that night on our knees in the parking lot in the dark. And he said, I want you to say these prayers every day. And I've been doing it now almost for 12 years, Hayden. And I have not drank again, ever. Nor do I
But
want to.
as the AA, like you just believe in what higher power that like, it doesn't have to be the God or it doesn't have to be Jesus or like whatever. Like you just find the higher power that you believe in. So
That's
did you go through the steps and everything? Like did you
yes, I did
in
it all.
your path, did you step on many toes and did you have to go back to forgiveness? Like take the black book and ooh, I like this one is 40 years ago. Yeah, I better call him.
I did it all
So,
because I
so,
didn't
so
want to drink again.
yeah.
Did not want to drink again. I knew I had to do it all. And then what happened, of course, was right after I had done it all, somebody asked me to help them. And I told Billy, like I said before, I didn't think I was ready.
Uh,
You know, you got a lot
hey,
of bad experience. And I said, okay. And I've been doing it ever since. And today my life is joyful every day. I went to a meeting this morning. I worked with a guy for a while in the literature, and that's pretty much what I do every day. Part of what I do. Yeah.
and believe it or not, you're funny as well. And that is not given. That is not given because you have to see. You also have to have humor for life
Oh my God, yes.
because
That's
you
the
just like it's just like why like, if you don't see the humor in it, like all the things you have went through, like it's just like, and when you were talking about the experiences in Vietnam, I was just like, why am I laughing? This is deadly serious. But then again, it's just like it's so crazy that you can't do any. Your reaction is just like, I have to laugh.
I do. Yeah.
So it's
Oh
just
yeah.
like but Rand, I think like I think I have to do Rand Timmerman 2.0 because you and Kenny Kunken, he is the guy who he got paralyzed when he was 20. He was tackled in American football, and he got
Mm,
3 degrees from college and stuff. And he ended up being assistant district attorney. He married and he got triplets. Like these are just mind blowing stories, and it must give people like you just have to find something, isn't it?
yes. Absolutely. I feel blessed. I never quite understood why I went through all that stuff I went through, and then I realized when I started working with other men that God had a plan for me. And this last 12 years has just been, I mean, I've got I've got all kinds of problems, right?
Yeah,
All
yeah,
kinds of
yeah.
different, but every day I say, God, you take the problem, you take the weight of it, I'll deal with it, but you just take it and let me go do what I'm supposed to do to help other people. And that's what I do. And I get tremendous joy out of it every day.
And
Now, am I
this is,
happy all day long? No,
uh,
I'm not happy all day long.
you
I have a
can't
regular,
be happy 24/7. That is just not, it's proven. You have to seek it. You have to wake up and decide. I am always like, if I hear the bird sing, I just decide, this will be a good day.
right. You can always start over too, by the way.
Yeah. But my father was an alcoholic, and I was almost there. So, but I quit just 2018. So we have like
Mm.
when you were walking the trail, but and I can be an idiot without a drink.
Me too.
So, because like, why is it that we have to drink to be bigger, better? As you were saying, like you were 5 foot, you were tiny, and then when you drank, you felt like you were a giant, and you were sexy as hell, and no acne. So, but I now underneath us we have Rand, your website, randtimmerman.com. I urge people to go there and look at it, and just buy the book, like get a hold of the book. It's just this story. You are amazing. It's just unbelievable how you can, like, I could probably sit and listen to you like for days, and you would just like, my jaw would still be on the
Yeah.
floor. But this has been amazing. But I have to finish off so we don't have it too long because
Okay.
but and the next session will be after a week where I will talk to Malcolm Hicks. He is a professor emeritus, so he stopped working, I think. So he will talk about the shadow side of leadership, why good intentions aren't enough. We are going to talk about dark leadership. So that's interesting stuff. And Rand, I think this is something that we could share. And my motto is like, be curious, be interested, be inspired, and by all means, ask people how they are doing. Reach out because you
Mhm.
never know. You
That's
never
right.
know how they could take, like, oh, Rand, you you just oof. I hope you enjoyed it as well.
I did. Thank you. And yeah, we barely touched the surface, but
Well,
maybe we'll do it
we
again
we
sometime.
well, definitely, because the only problem is that there is only one Thursday every week, so I can't, like,
No, I
unless
know.
we make
I'm just saying.
unless we make another dimension.
Okay, another universe.
Yes, but thank you very much, Rand, and just we will be in touch. So, and people can reach out to you by this website. And I couldn't find anything about social media, so like they just have to go to your website. That is the best thing. And
Right.
I know you're on LinkedIn, but you're not that much on LinkedIn.
No, I haven't figured that all out yet. I'm 80 years old. I'm still writing other books too, so
Well, woo. So that is exciting. So thank you very much.